Let's start from the concept of social class and from Marx. The uninterrupted liquidation of the category of class in its sociological, philosophical, and political implications as a currency out of circulation betrays traces of an exorcism, where the single over and over repeated thought that Marx is dead has the only purpose of preventing the presence of a promoter who promises a happiness worthier than what is currently available. A promoter and equally a staunch critic of the contradictions that have continued to innervate the market society. The financial aristocracy promotes as universal ideas that glorify its own class domination and, with symmetrical movement, dismisses any counter ideas that can unmask the former's pseudo-universality and to reconstitute, first of all theoretically, the field of the two-way conflict between servant and master. Supporting this notion is the fact that already on April 22, 1992, Margaret Thatcher, from the pages of The Guardian, could casually argue that, quote, class is a communist concept. It groups people together and sets them against each other, unquote. With this ill-concealed exorcism, she revealed the deception, and she uncovered the ideology underlying the declared inactivity of a category that, by its very nature, cannot be admitted as existing in the times of a newspeak forged by the neo-Orwellian Ministry of Truth. In contrast with the theorem of Margaret Thatcher, the now hegemonic abandonment of the category of class did not, of course, mark the end of the people's opposition against each other, according to that class logic that will persist as long as the mode of capitalist production will survive. It has simply determined that the people of the master class are battering, without meeting any response, the people of the servant class. The eclipse of the theory of the class struggle did not, therefore, lead to the disappearance of the class struggle. It only prevented the dominated class, fragmented into a multitude of suffering and lonely plebs, to take cognizance of their own being and to organize themselves to answer the challenged quarterly, acting as a class in itself and for itself. The fragility of these and similar arguments, which simply preach the passing and obsolescence in order to promote them, of the categories of conflict and of other non-admitted categories, such as alienation, exploitation, imperialism, and so on, is manifested even if we only consider that, at bottom, a philosophical political discourse centered on the Marxian and Lukácsian notions of class makes it possible to render evident the conflict in its verticality, in its dialectic between servant and master. Even allowing for the difference in composition and conscience of the two parties of the struggle, difference resulting from changed times. However approximate and not exhaustive it may be, the class category has the undoubted advantage, philosophical, political, rather than sociological, of bringing into bright focus that latent and in every way hidden conflictuality which permeates the fragmented society of the absolute and flexible phase. It's not enough, moreover, to dismiss the class category with the sociological argument that the workers' base, however it may be understood, is marked by a sharp disparity in income, skills, and origin. Such an argument, in fact, is based, with the grammars of Hegel, on the empty depth of a myopic sociologism which neglects en bloc the philosophical and political dimension. By so doing, it precludes the possibility of deciphering the conflictuality, and it ends willy-nilly supporting the goals of the financial aristocracy and its revolt. In order to support the retention of the concept of class in today's horizon, it is sufficient to show not that there are no distributive disparities within a given class, but that the disparity within classes is less substantial than that between classes. On this basis, the precarious rendered servants, however inhomogeneous and not uniform in their compositions may be, undoubtedly constitute a different class, for material basis and interest, than that of the globalist master. A class that certainly presents itself as more compact and, also for this reason, the only one endowed with a conscience of itself. The surviving middle classes, not yet made precarious by the dynamics managed by the globalist lord, and the proletariat redefined as the precarious class, are today much closer to each other, by position and by interests, than they could be compared to the neo-feudal elite, which, as said, is their main enemy.